Buy on MTG. Construct your deck. Command your board. Conquer the table.
Hello, everybody in the wide world of web. This is Rob with Bion MTG. Doing another Memory Lanes video. Gonna fall back. The last video that we did was Fallen Empires. So in accordance with expansions, we've done Arabian Nights, Antiquities, then Legends, then The Dark, then Fallen Empires. So today will be Ice Age. We're gonna start out Ice Age in alphabetical order, just like I always do, and I don't sort it by color or card type, which I know tilts some folks, and I'm sorry about that, but I appreciate the alphabet, and it makes it substantially easier to organize them accordingly with as a set collector, for me at least. So Ice Age, the set symbol here is this little bitty snowflake, and I will put that up on the screen real quick. The expansion code was Ice. This didn't have a pre-release date. It did come out June of 1995. So we're getting close to the last expansion that I was actively playing, because I only actively played through alliances, but then I definitely came back, obviously. In this set, there are a total of 383 cards in total. 121 of them are commons. 121 of them are uncommons. There are 121 of them being rares. So when it comes to collecting this set, it's easy to account for the three in those categories. And there are 15 basic lands in this set, and that is because this was the introduction to snow-covered lands. Normally, I will research all of this information, I'll print it out, and then I'll have these papers that I keep referring. I had like a little stand, like an easel that I set up, and this time, I'm just at my computer desk, so that way I can bring up the information and not fiddle around with printing out papers and potentially wasting papers. Ice Age is a total of a 3 expansion block. There was Ice Age, and then the story continued through alliances, and then culminated with Cold Snap. This is referred to in the Brothers' Wars, starting out in Antiquities, and after the Brothers' Wars completed, it kind of caused this Ice Age, this dramatic climate shift. So I'm going to get into the actual cards now, and being that there's so many, I'm going to go through relatively quick, though. Abyssal Spectre kind of called back to the Hypnotic Spectre. Definitely didn't see a lot of play because 4 mana is way different than 3 mana, and being out of the Dark Ritual category kind of threw this one out. Adakar or Adarkar, I don't care how you say it, but I'm probably going to say it both ways, just because the Sentinel didn't really see a lot of play. The Unicorn didn't either. This land cycle, though, these are commonly referred to as the pain lands. So they tap for colorless, or they tap for a little bit of pain for one of 2 colors. This entire pain land cycle still sees a lot of play today. It was pretty integral. Ages of the Meek, just a little pseudo equipment before equipment was equipment, and didn't really see a lot of play, neither did Aggression. Ultra Bone sees a little bit every now and then. It's a really cool card. Sacrifice a creature to look through your library for a creature card. Put that card into your hand after showing it to all the other players, and then reshuffle. It was kind of like the precursor to having to reveal things, because it was a tutor, but it's specifically called to a specific card. Amulet of Quaz. It's an anti-card. It's banned pretty much everywhere unless you're playing for anti. Anarchy, Arctic Fox, and then the Arkham's Slay and Weathervane. Didn't really see a whole heck of a lot of play. Arkham's Whistle. Beautiful Quentin Hoover artwork. One of my favorite artists, and definitely, I don't know, for me, justified why his artwork was is so integral and so reminiscent of vintage Magic and classic Magic. Aura. This Aura didn't really see a lot of play. Armor of Faith didn't either. Most of Alliances, I'm just going to kind of look at them, and I'll stop at ones that, at least in my play group back in Florida in 95, shout out to Ryan. You know you were there. Not a lot of this saw a whole heck of a lot of play, but some of it was kind of backbreaking at that time, and most of it doesn't see any kind of play now, but I'll stop at the ones that do for that as well, similar to when I stopped at the Painlands. Ashen Gold, just kind of a neat card. Aurochs, whatever. This Unicorn, maybe I'm just biased on the Quentin Hoover artwork. I like his artwork, and I like Richard Kane Ferguson quite a bit. And who knows, maybe that'll be the next artist spotlight. Maybe I should do that. Oh, man. Just so many really cool cards to go through, and just a lot of classics. Binding Grasp was a really neat one because you get to steal the creature. It did have an upkeep, and was the same convert mana cost of Control Magic, but didn't have the upkeep. It didn't give it that bump of toughness, and it was only 3 and a blue instead of 2 and 2 blue. Blinking Spirits definitely saw some play. The ability to just kind of return it at instant speed, so it couldn't eat removal, was pretty cool from that perspective. I'm going to kind of scroll down in this for notable cards. Yeah. Okay. We're going to keep on going because obviously I haven't gotten to any of them because I'm pretty sure I'll remember. Blizzard, Blue Scarab. There's a Scarab cycle. It still didn't see much play, even though it was there. And, yeah, Bone Shaman. Moving on. Brushlands, another one of the Painlands, pretty cool. Chaos Lord, it really tried. 7/7 for 7. It had first strike. Chaos Lord can attack the first turn it comes into play on a side, except the first turn it comes into play. During your upkeep, count the number of permanents. If it's even, target opponent gains control of Chaos Lord. So, kind of neat. It doesn't have haste, hence it not being able to attack the first turn that it comes into play. But it moving around and you having to keep relevant count of your permanents was kind of cool. Chaos Moon, another really cool card. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, is it another Blood Moon? And no, it's not another Blood Moon. It's a cool card, though. Chub Toad. We used to joke around about flavor text and stuff, and Chub Toad at the door, run away quick or run no more. I don't know. It was just something funny that we used to do back in the day, and it's funny. Had the little arm hanging out. Really cool card. It's this one. Yeah. I'm just going to keep on rolling with this. Circle of Protection. So we had the full cop cycle, excluding Circle of Protection artifact that we had already received. And at this point in the game, we hadn't received cop land yet. Clairvoyance. Pretty cool card. This one definitely saw a little bit of play. Look at target player's land and draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So that was kind of cool. It allowed you to get almost that Glasses of Urza effect, but you at least got to draw a card to replace itself. Conquer was falling into the same kind of deck category that ran the Strip Mines, Sinkholes, Stone Rains. What's the other one? The green one. I'll just pop it up. Ice Storm, I think. Getting a nice reprint of Counterspell was always welcomed. These didn't really see a lot of play. Dance of the Dead did and still does. Dark Banishing saw quite a bit of play because it was another removal spell. And it was an instant speed removal spell. Dark Writ, of course, saw play. Deflection at this point in the game, we'll get to it later, but Force of Will was obviously an amazing card in Alliances that is part of the Ice Age cycle, but Deflection saw as much, if not more, play than Force of Will at this point in the game. It was a pretty amazing card. Demonic Consultation sees a ton of play now. I mean, this is a CEDH staple. It doesn't really see a lot of regular EDH play, but Demonic Consultation is a pretty great card. Despotic Scepter saw a little bit of play. It was a sideboard card more so because you had a lot of the donate deck kind of things that would try and give you bad things so you could at least destroy it, or if you had a reanimation aspect, or if you were a reanimate deck and somebody was trying to Swords to Plowshare or something, and Swords saw a ton of play at this time in the game. You could almost sideboard against Swords to Plowshare type effects, so you could get rid of the thing and put it in your graveyard instead of it being exiled, so you could reanimate it or animate dead later, or Dance of the Dead. Disenchant saw a ton of play, but that was just a reprint, really. Earthlink is a really cool card. Beautiful Richard Kane Ferguson artwork. And it was 3 and a Jund. During your upkeep, pay 2 or bury or destroy Earthlink. Whenever a creature is put into the graveyard from play, that creature's controller sacrifices a land. Ignore this effect if they control no land. So it was, like I said, the same 3 colors that I mentioned earlier for the land disruption or land destruction decks. But this one allowed you to attack their creatures, so you could blow up their Birds of Paradise, taking them off of mana and at the same time taking them further away from their lands. Elkin Bottle. I have the errated text printed out and just stuck in the sleeve because I did play this in my Prosper Tomebound deck. And this is something that I'll normally do if the flavor text is, if the errated play text is substantially different than what the card printed on, or just makes it streamline and make way more sense. This is just something that I do. I don't know. How do you all approach if the errated text just makes the card make way more sense? I just print out the errated and pop it in there. Enduring Renewal saw a little bit of play. It's a really cool card. Let's see on here. Not a whole heck of a lot of this saw any additional play. Fire Covenant sees a ton of play. Instant speed, really cool removal spell. Really great card. And let's see. Not a whole heck of a lot in here. Brings us to the first of the land cycle. So we have the forest. So we do have all of the basic lands having a 3 artwork print, but then we have the complete cycle of the snow-covered lands. So we do have in total 20 basic lands, but in the breakdown, the set breakdown that we had talked about earlier, it didn't cover the snow-covereds. It only covered the basics, because there's a total of 33 lands in total in Ice Age. That's non-basics, snow-covered, and basics. The breakdown from that perspective was 56 cards of each color, 25 multicolor, 45 artifacts, and 33 lands. Kind of just a neat little fun fact. Going through, none of these really saw a ton of play until we get down to here. The Finehorn Elder and the Finehorn Elves both saw a fair amount of play in that era. Finehorn Elves still sees quite a bit of play. This really didn't see a whole heck of a lot of play. Giant Growth did. Giant Trapdoor Spider did, and I would have to research it, and I'll put like a little thumbs up or thumbs down in the video, but I believe this was actually involved in a Pro Tour winning deck that was kind of like a homebrew deck that just kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody was really expecting it, but I believe Trapdoor Spider was in a Pro Tour winning deck, although it didn't see much play at all. So that's just a neat little happenstance. Glacial Chasm, great card. I don't personally play it. It's one of the most recently added to the Game Changers list, but just a cool card. And if you do have a deck that allows you to recycle your own lands, which ended up being pretty heavily Jund builds, but that's definitely sees a fair amount of play from that perspective. The goblins got a little bit of love in this set, and at this point in the game, post Fallen Empires, there were a lot of goblin decks, and this just kind of added to it a little bit. The snowman was a cute one because it could tap to deal a damage to a creature that blocked, so it threw its little snowball and helped kill some stuff. We get to another part of the land cycle out of this set. Halls of Mist saw absolutely no play, and at least not in my play groups. Moving on. There's a talisman cycle, and it's not the talismans you all are thinking that make mana. This talisman was just had different effects. So this one, 3 to untap target permanent, use this ability only when a red spell was successfully cast, and only once per each red spell. We'll go to this one. I'm not going to try and say its name, Halapurius. Well, maybe I will try and say its name. Halapurius Lemur. The artist was thinking lemur, I believe. So that's why there's a little creature on here. And I believe Lemur is supposed to be a ghost of some sort. And man, I really should have researched all this, because I'm going to have to do a little pop-ups on all parts of this. But at the very least, it shows how vested of a Magic nerd I am, that I'm remembering these stupid little tidbits off the top of my head. And hopefully it's not wrong. I'm going to drop back to How From Beyond. Man, this card saw a fair amount of like combat trick fringe play, and has killed quite a few players. And I'm sure, pop it in the comments if you've been got by How From Beyond, because I'd be interested to see. Hurricane saw a fair amount of play. It was a good one. Moving to Ice Cauldron. Once again, you see how I approach this card doesn't do, or it's worded so convoluted. But this one I've used, and I believe this one was in Prosper as well, because it allowed you to cast from exile. Ice Flow, another part of the land cycle, didn't really see a whole heck of a lot of play. Icequake was part of the land destruction cycle. This one didn't get used too much, and there's a green one later on, I think it's Thermoflage or something like that didn't see a whole heck of a lot of play, just because there was such a high density of land disruption that you didn't need them unless you were attempting to do it in type 2. So you lost your Ice Age, or not your Ice Age, you lost your Unlimited. So that would have been the Ice Storm and Stone Rain or Sinkhole. If you lost those two, then you would go with Icequake and Thermoflash. Icy Manipulator saw quite a bit of play in this time frame. Still sees a little bit of play in Old School, not as much as I think you should, but everybody plays Old School the way that you play it, and I think that's the coolest part about Old School. Most of these didn't see a whole heck of a lot of play. Illusions of Grandeur did, and it was a little bit later in the game, because the basic concept is you cast Illusions of Grandeur, you gain the 20 life, and then you would donate it with either de facto donate out of Urza Block, or Harmless Offering was another method to give this to someone else. So that way, when it left play, your opponent would lose their 20 life, and you just got to keep the 20 life. Incinerate really started enabling us to have burn decks with this, in conjunction with later we're going to get Hammer of Bogarden and Lightning Bolt. Things like that really allowed us to start having a burn deck. Infernal Darkness didn't see a whole heck of a lot of play. None of this really did. And the islands, of course, did see play because they're islands, and might be the best card in all of Magic is the basic island. These two, Jester's Cap and Jester's Mask, were some of the most anticipated cards from this set, and Jester's Cap was hands down the most expensive card when this set came out. This was the chase card you were looking for. Jester's Mask was a follow-on, and this is I don't have a Scry magazine to confer with, but I believe when this set dropped, Jester's Cap was on or about $20-$25. Jester's Mask was about $15 to $20. But yeah, Jester's Cap and Jester's Mask. These were your big chase cards, even though now they really don't see any kind of play at all. Moving along, Jeweled Amulet is a fun one if you're into the charge counter thing. And I built a charge counter deck in the past, and Jeweled Amulet is just a fun one. Jockle Hops, oh my gosh. If you want to tilt a play group is, in Commander at the very least, is have methods to break the parity of mass land destruction. And go ahead and Jockle Hops, destroying all artifacts so they lose their mana rocks, destroy all creatures so they lose their mana dorks, and destroy all lands so they lose all of their mana access in general. Goodness, this one will, and unless you're in now tier 4, if you have tier 4 and you're playing in a play group that likes that kind of thing or is okay with that sort of thing, my play group, if that's what you're doing and you have a way to still close the game out, get it. Like that's how our play group functions. But man, Jockle Hops, fun card. Corpulsion Forest gives us another one of the Pain Land cycles. Moving forward, the rest of this didn't really see a whole heck of a lot of play. A little bit of banding action. We know, you all know, banding is the most powerful keyword in the game. We're going to keep running along. We get to Pumper Knight. Pumper Knights are real cool. 2 mana for a 2/1. You can give it first strike. You can give it +1/+0. It has pseudo fire breathing and pro white. Pumper Knights were pretty great. And of course, just like White Knight, Black Knight, there's Pumper Knight versions of the opposites. Moving along. The Vampire saw a little bit of play, not just because it's beautiful Quentin Hoover artwork, but it saw a little bit of play. People were attempting to make vampire-esque or vampire-centric decks. These are the storage lands, or the depletion lands, I believe is what they were referred to as. You could add stuff to them, and you could slowly take a depletion counter away. And yeah, it was pretty neat. It gives you mana every other turn. Really didn't see any kind of play, but it was neat to see the attempt at making an alternative land style, continuation of the talisman cycle, the Lapis Lazuli talisman, and that was the blue side of it. Moving forward, Lurgoyf. This is definitely, this flavor text has gotten so many callbacks in Magic. You got actual Safi Eric's daughter became a Magic card. This is Hans Run. It's the Lurgoyf. Hans became a Magic card, and the Lurgoyf creature type became Tarmogoyf, which is one of the most impactful creature types of early modern, prior to when they just started printing directly to modern and started ruining modern as a whole with Modern Masters, or no, Modern Horizon is where they started ruining modern to make a non-rotating format exactly a rotating format detracted from modern as a whole. And I feel like I don't know if this would be even marginally considered a hot take, but Modern Horizons ruined what modern was as a format. But Tarmogoyf was beastly, and then they gave us a pre-constructed deck, a Jund pre-constructed that is centric around the Lurgoyf. Super cool card. Moving forward, Lore. Lore was such a great card with, Cockatrice and Thicket Basilisk, but this was just a reprint to it, so this really didn't see much play because we already had Lurgoyf. Continuation of the Talisman cycle. I will say Marique Barrett. Esper Commander, great Theft Commander. One of my favorites, and I've had this deck together for a real long time, and then I took it apart, and I think I took it apart because I was teaching a really good friend of mine how to play Commander, and the theft aspect of the game at that point really tilted him. He didn't appreciate it at all. He's like, I don't want to play this stupid game if all you're going to do is take all my stuff. I get why he didn't like it, because he would take his time and efforts to handpick these cards, buy these cards, build the deck, take the time to cast them, and I would just steal them. But he's definitely evolved quite a bit as a player. Shout out, Jason. I think you know who I'm talking to. But I think it might be time to revisit this commander. It's one of my favorites, and just I think they gave us a Time Spiral remastered or time shifted. I think they gave us a foil of it, and for me, your commander should be foil if available. I don't care about the whole deck, but at the very least, give me a foil commander. These didn't see a whole heck of a lot of play. These attempted to when we had Type 1 and Type 2, the Type 2 hand disruption deck. And if you want, put it in the comments down below, my Type 2 hand disruption deck that Ryan and I both grinded and did a ton of card development for, and would not fall into old school because Fallen Empires was pretty integral into that. I think Fallen Empires is utilized in some Type 2, or not Type 2, some old school versions, but not all of them. But Hemta Turok was pretty integral in that deck. But when we did the Type 1, Type 2 split, attempted to use these, but Mind Twist is just so much better, and Hemta Turok is so much better that these really didn't see any kind of love. Minion of Tevesh Szat. We got Tevesh Szat not too long ago, so it's kind of cool to see the minion thereof finally getting his named person. Merfolk's got a little bit of love in here, so we definitely got some demons, we got some zombies, we got some goblins, we got some merfolks, we got all sorts of creature type love in here. These really didn't see a whole heck of a lot of play. We get to the mountain cycle. It's pretty cool looking. I like the hard lining, but I think that's because I like Quentin Hoover artwork. That this gentleman's, Tim Warnestrad's artwork kind of felt at least reminiscent. These really didn't see a whole heck of a lot of play until we get to Mystic Fish. Mystic Remora, there's CEDH staple, amazing card. Not on the Game Changers list, I don't believe, and I feel that's incorrect. I think because it's got the cumulative upkeep is why it's not on Game Changer. But if you run this, you'll draw almost as many cards as Rhystic Study draws you before this goes away from its own cumulative upkeep. Rhystic Study goes away from somebody being fed up with it and just blowing it up. But Mystic Remora, to me, should be a game changer. If it's not, and I'll pop it up and I'll put like a sad face or something if I'm wrong, but I don't believe this is a game changer. Another fun thing about this card is Remora is a type of fish. Everybody is aware that Remoras latch on to some, well, anybody who likes fishing and oceans and whatever, but Remoras stick onto things and kind of drag its whatever it's stuck to slightly. And when the artist received this, the Mystic Remora, I think they didn't know exactly what the card was supposed to do. So they just looked at it from the word Remora being the type of fish and not Remora being a drag or a hindrance. And I think that's from what this card does, what Wizards of the Coast intended. So they wanted an artwork depicting something that was dragging or hindering things from taking place. But that's not what they got. They got a fish because they didn't give the artist enough direction. Similar to the Lemur that we referenced earlier. None of these really see too much play. We do get to Nature's Lore. Nature's Lore got a functional reprint in Portal 3 Kingdoms, the 3 visits, and Nature's Lore sees a ton of play today. Going to go to the elephant in the room. I guess not as an elephant. The Necropotence in the room. Mark Teeden artwork. Beautiful artwork. Triple black. Skip your draw phase. If you would discard a card from your hand, remove that card from the game. So you exile it instead. 0 mana, pay 1 life, set aside the top card of your library at the beginning of your next discard phase. You put that card into your hand. Effects that prevent or redirect this damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life. So essentially, you're going through your turn, you pay 6 or 7 life, and when you move to your cleanup phase, you put those cards in your hand, and then you would discard to hand size, but instead of discarding to the graveyard, you would discard to exile, and you'd skip your draw step. They thought the exile aspect of it and skipping your draw step and the cost of life was enough to kind of balance this, but oh my gosh, were they wrong. Necropotence is so insanely powerful, always has been, always will be. I believe it's on the Game Changers list, and man, just a crazy, beautiful, beautiful card. And I'm going to do a little video of just they did pause for a moment. They did this really cool tin where it's Garfield versus Finkel, and it was the Deck Masters, and there were 2 decks, and there is a foil, like the old school foil of Necropotence, and it is hands down the prettiest one. And it's funny that I had that tin just sitting next to me. It's on one of my shelves, but yeah, that the foil Necropotence is just beautiful. Moving forward, we get another one of the talisman cycles. We get some orcs here, and man, I wish they would give us enough orcs to make an orc deck, but they just don't. They just give us goblins. And I guess that's what we're going to have to be happy with. Moving on, Orcish Lumberjack, although not a supported creature tribe, or not tribe, what do they say now? Kindred? It's not typo, it's kindred. It's not a supported kindred, but man, this card saw so much love when we would do, it's Naya now, but it would be Naya Zoo, even in type 2 standard back in the 90s. So you were running Curd Apes, you were running Orcish Lumberjacks, you were running, there's a bunch of low to the ground and Savannah Lions, but the top of it would end up being Urnum Djinn. Now, a lot of decks would play Urnum-Geddon, so they would use Urnum Djinn, and then they would Armageddon, and that would break the aspect of giving something of theirs Forest Walk, because you didn't have any forests and they didn't have any lands. But the Naya Zoo version of it back in type 2 is you would use your Lumberjack, sacrifice the forest to get the green to summon the Urnum Djinn on turn 2, mind you, and then you would be hammering at them with this 4/5, and you didn't have a forest for them to Forest Walk back on. So that was pretty cool. Orcish Squatters, really cool card. Beautiful Richard Ken Ferguson artwork. Just amazing. It brings us to the white version of the Pumper Knight that I had referenced earlier. We had the Black Knight and White Knight. We got the Black Pumper Knight, and here's the White Pumper Knight. Pale Bears. If you're building a bear kindred deck in Commander, this one's really funny because people forget about the Island Walk, and it'll come up and get you. Plague Rat sees just fringe play and rat kindred decks. Brings us to the Plains land cycle, and then to our token giant blue creature. So every set has some giant blue creature for absolutely no reason. We had Leviathan, we had Islandfish Janicus, and Ice Age's installation or their contribution to that theme was Polar Kraken. And I'm going to pop it up. There is a really cool card from the first unset called the BFM, the Big Furry Monster. And he's 2 separate cards, and he's so giant that this huge 11/11 is just an earring on him. So I'll pop that up just because it's funny and it calls out. It's a little shout out to the Polar Kraken. Portent still sees a little bit of play. I think it's a great card. But look at the top card of target player's library. So it could be yours or your opponent's, depending on if they tutored for something and you think it might be, oh goodness, they might close the game out. You portent it, see what it is. If it's something that needs to be countered and you don't have a counter, well, in Commander, who's to say that you don't say, hey, what they tutored is going to win them the game. We need to deal with it. And you get to draw a card. Power Sync was a really cool counterspell back in the day. This is just a reprint, though. Pox, there's a couple Legacy, and I don't know if it still is a functional Legacy deck, but there was a Legacy Pox deck, which was really cool. Not a lot of play. Pyroblast, there is a fair amount of play. It's a variant of Red Elemental Blast. It's not the exact same, but really cool. I think Red Elemental Blast lets you, I don't remember. One of them, you can target any spell, but it only counters it if it's blue. This one, counter target spell if it's blue, or destroy target permanent if it's blue. So yeah, one of them you can hit blue stuff. The other one you can hit anything, but it only functions if it's blue. Pyroclasm, really cool card. Little bitty board wipe against the low to the ground stuff, so it deals with tokens pretty well. Moving on, Ray of Command, real cool card. Untap creature an opponent controls, gain control of it until the end of turn. That creature can attack or use its ability. So it lets you steal something for just one turn. Harold McNeil is the artist who all of their artwork is banned because they were apparently an active member of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, and they used to draw propaganda material for the KKK. So this artwork, even if they were to reprint Ray of Command, would not use this artwork, similar to Sylvan Library. Why Sylvan Library got forced a new artwork. Moving forward, nothing too crazy. Regeneration used to see some play, but kind of fallen to the wayside. Continuation of the Scarab cycle, continuation of the depletion land cycle. Let's see, not a lot of this saw play. Shatter sees a little bit, but not too much because we've gotten way better things to destroy artifacts now. Sibilant Spirit did see some play, only because it was a 6-mana 5/6 flyer. It kind of fell into the same group or category as Mahamudi Jinn, but this one just... people tried to do it. It didn't do the thing that well, so they stopped seeing play. Skeleton Ship is a real fun one. 0/3. It's a ton of mana, though. 3 and Dimir. Summon Legend. Anytime you control no islands, you bury Skeleton Ship. So you destroy it if you don't have any islands. So it has Island Home or whatever that it was ended up being keyworded. Tap to put a -1 counter on target creature. So if you have a Proliferate deck, this is a fun one. And you can kind of... build a little fringe. Like if you're trying to do some really low powered, maybe even tier one proliferate kind of thing, this could be a really fun commander to approach that with. Moving on, Sleight of Mind is a reprint, but Magical Hack and Sleight of Mind saw a lot of play back then. There was a really neat sideboard tech where you would run Circle of Protections and Sleight of Minds when damage was the only way that you were really killing stuff. So you could run any of the Circle of Protections. So like if your group was a ton of blue or black, you could run two Circle of Protections, one blue, one black, but you could run Sleight of Mind. So that way, if you did run into that red deck, you could Sleight of Mind and change your Circle of Protection to red. Pretty neat. Brings us to the Snow-Covered Land cycle. This was all 5 of them. Pretty cool cards. Definitely gave us a whole new basic land type and really cool land cycle, and gets to let you offset your basics with something different. Moving on, nothing too mind-blowing or amazing in here. Just pretty artwork. And yeah, this whole page, other than snow covered, says really no redeeming qualities. Stone Rain gives us another reprint, really cool card. Another one of the Pain Lands. The Swampland Cycle Swords to Plowshare, that was a really welcomed reprint, and kept it in Type 2 for a little bit longer. We get another Depletion Land. Tinderwall sees some love now because 1 mana, you can sacrifice it to add 2, so it's a little bit of mana ramp, or it's a pseudo mana battery if you need it to. You got that opponent who always has a turn 1 Ragavan or something. You could turn 1 Tinderwall, and after that Ragavan's gone, you can sacrifice it later and make it do a thing. Or pay and sacrifice this to kill the dang Tinderwall. To kill the Ragavan. Another Pain Land. Urza's Bauble, fun card. It sees a little bit of play. And every now and then when we get like an eggs deck or something like that, it will pop off and it'll jump up, but then it kind of creeps back down. Depletion Land. These don't really see, or never really saw, a whole heck of a lot of play. Going down to another one of the Scarab Cycles. I think we're almost done. Wild Growth sees a fair amount of play still in Commander today, so that's a pretty cool one. Winter's Chill. Last page we're looking at, we got the Wisps, Woolly Spider, Gnats, Zuron Orb. Saw a ton of play and is just an amazing card. Definitely one of the most impactful cards in Ice Age, so I'm glad it was on the last page, so we had something cool to talk about at the end. And Zurin Spellcaster gave us another Prodigal Sorcerer, gave us another Tim, if you will. The rule book, there were 2 different types of rule books that were released with Ice Age. First print run and second print run of Ice Age, which is kind of cool. And these were included in the starter decks. And you guys know, if I have them, I will attempt to show what the sealed product looks like. This is a sealed Ice Age starter. And alongside the starter, there were booster packs. And this is a sealed Ice Age booster pack. Now, I have cases, because these normally get sent to me in the case with their little hologram sticker. But I believe there's cases for the starter decks. I think I've seen them from other people when they're doing videos and whatnot, but I can't seem to find them. So if any of you in the comments know where to find the hard acrylic cases for a starter deck, I would really, really appreciate you putting what am I missing? What are they called if it's not starter deck acrylic storage case? What are they called so I can find these silly things? Because I have a fair amount of starter decks that aren't in something, and I would like for them to be in a something. Overall, this is the entirety of Ice Age. Really cool set, really fun. It was huge, and this one took me a little while to put together just because if those of you who do know how I collect sets, I don't just buy a complete set. I take my time with it, and that's why some of them just aren't done yet, and why I was slower to get some of these videos out, because I wait until I can find the cards like just naturally. I'm not going to go online and just order a complete set or order a specific card. I try and wait until my LGS has it, or I have a long weekend, so I go through bulk boxes and I stumble across that Word of Undoing that I haven't been able to find for 30 years or whatever. But yeah, I enjoy taking my time and collecting the sets. I'm only going to go in this series through the Urza block because those are the last sets that contain reserve list cards, and that's really where the mainstay is for me and collecting complete sets. Is I just want to have one of each reserve list card, and this is for me the easiest way to do it, and still lets me go through all the old cards that I used to have as a kid, so through alliances. And when I complete Urza block, I think is about as far as this series is going to go. Hope you all are having a great day out there. I hope you all enjoyed this walk down memory lane. And if there are any integral cards that were like backbreaking for you all back in the 90s, put it in the comments. I'd be really curious to see which ones didn't see play in Florida or which ones I may have forgotten because, yep, that was a long time ago and older and I forget stuff. But yeah, have a great day. I'm Rob with Buy on MTG. Good luck and have fun.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below.